My E92 M3 is a sunroof model. I have been wanting to put a carbon fiber roof on this car since the beginning. I thought that this whole install, this whole process would be a really fun learning experience. And I know for sure some other people are interested in this as well. And I can kind of lead you guys through that process, give you an idea of what something like this might cost, how much work it actually takes, and show you how I think would be the proper way to do it at your own house or garage. Now, this is definitely something that if you are not comfortable doing it yourself, you should probably have a professional do it at a body shop. I think if you had a body shop do it, it would probably be about $4,000 to $5,000, maybe less, depending on where you are and depending on how much they charge. So I know some people are gonna be like, dude, why didn't you just buy an E92 M3 from the beginning with a carbon roof? That's just not how the cards played out. I was able to get my E92 M3 a couple of years ago for a really, really good price. Basically ticked all of the boxes. The entire spec was exactly what I wanted, minus the carbon roof. I also knew that the majority of carbon roofs were going to need re-clearing. So really the toughest part for me was going to be the actual install of the carbon fiber roof. And after learning a little bit more about how these are installed, how they are actually put onto the cars, it really didn't scare me too much to go ahead and try this out myself. So the roof I'm going to be installing is an OEM E92 M3 carbon fiber roof that I had re-cleared by a good friend of mine here in Charlotte, North Carolina. He did a phenomenal job. I'll show you guys the roof here in a second. But they also make aftermarket roofs that you can buy. However, I didn't really want to go that route because I wanted to ensure it would be perfect fitment, good quality, something that I knew was going to last a long time. I just wanted to err on the side of caution and go with OEM. My roof was originally in really rough condition, so it's pretty incredible the way that it's turned out now. It looks basically brand new. And in a couple of weeks here, I'll be able to take it to the PPF shop and get it PPF. Overall, I think that this car is going to look absolutely insane with a carbon fiber roof. When it comes to sunroofs, it's kind of a polarizing discussion. Some people are anti-carbon roof, which I have found out as of late. I didn't even know that was a thing, but some people really, really enjoy their sunroofs. For me, I've only used that sunroof a few times. It's not really a big deal to me. I'm going to be keeping this car, so cutting it off is not really that big of a deal. And this is my carbon fiber roof. It is insane how nice this looks. My buddy Josh did an incredible job completely redoing this entire roof, and it looks brand new. I have really nothing bad to say about it. He absolutely killed it. And so that is going to be going on this car. So to quickly lay out the sequence of events for you guys, I have all new glass coming for this car. Front windshield needs to be replaced anyways. In order to do this job, obviously you need to remove the front windshield and the rear window. I also ordered a new rear window as well, because sometimes when you remove glasses from these older cars, the glass can break. So just out of caution, I bought two brand new windows, front and rear. I will have new window seals that I'm buying. I have the carbon fiber roof headliner as well. So basically this will be completely converted to a carbon fiber roof E92 M3. All of the headliner, everything will look just like an E92 M3. And we are using all OEM parts. So nothing is going to be aftermarket in this entire deal. A lot of people were asking, is there something structural about this roof? There's actually not. When you do this swap, you will get a center brace like this if you buy an entire E92 M3 carbon fiber roof. And we will be installing this center brace as well using riv nuts and panel bond. But the core purpose of this center brace is actually to reduce any sort of wind buffeting so the carbon fiber doesn't just flap around while you're driving. That made perfect sense to me. We are of course going to go ahead and install that as well and show you guys that whole process. Right now I'm going to focus on pulling out the entire interior in terms of like the headliners, the pillars, the seats, and then I'm going to do my best to cover up the interior with plastic sheeting because this is going to be a rather messy job. I don't want to get everything dirty on the inside. And then once my guy comes and takes off the front and rear window, tomorrow morning we are going to start removing the actual roof, which is basically held on by panel bond and a series of spot welds. So we have to drill out all of the spot welds, use a chisel and hammer to remove the panel bond and lift the actual factory roof from the car. Obviously inside of that are going to be some electronics that we need to disconnect, but for the most part this isn't too difficult of a job. It's just more so one of those things that takes a lot of time. The carbon roof will actually be held on with panel bond, which is exactly how they do it from factory, and we will be clamping that panel bond and holding that roof in place overnight. Then we will come here Sunday morning and wrap up the job. I'm not really sure how fast we can get the glass in. I'm hoping my guy can come back out Sunday afternoon, throw back in the new glass, and then we will be good to go. The roof will be officially on, and I'll wait a couple weeks, get it PPF'd and all that good stuff. But nonetheless, it's going to be a good one. Let's get into it. So definitely not the best way to pull out a headliner, but this headliner will not be used again. It's already falling apart, it's sagging. Typically what you'd want to do is wait to pull out the glass and then just slide the headliner out from there. So now what I'm going to focus on is getting everything that is connected to the sunroof out of the car. So there are some 10 mils going around the circumference of this, a Torx bolt right there, Torx bolt right there, Torx, another 10 mil, a couple of hoses for drainage, and it looks like that should be all of it. I should be able to basically just disconnect everything and drop this entire sunroof out and out of the car, and it's going to be super, super heavy. I remember doing this in my E36. It was not fun, but we only have to do it once. We don't have to worry about it again. That's got to be the sketchiest removal ever. All right, so I've done my best to ensure that everything I need off of this roof, this skin, is off. Everything that needs to be unplugged, everything that needs to be undone is now loose. So anything that is connected to this is going to come out with this, including the antenna, fin, and all that stuff. So now we just have to wait for the glass guys to come remove the rear and the front. And you're going to see along this roof, you'll see these little spot welds. Basically, we're going to be drilling out every single one of these spot welds. Now those go all the way around the roof. And then once we do that, we have to chisel off all of the panel bond. You can see right there, that is also going around the circumference of this roof. The panel bond is going to be the most difficult part for sure. I hope that the spot welds don't give us any trouble. I did buy a specific bit for drilling out spot welds, but we'll see how it goes. I've heard mixed reviews on that whole thing. But basically at this point, there's not really much we can do until the glass gets pulled out. Well friends, it is a new day and the M3 no longer has glass in it. All right, so the glass guy came by last night, removed the front, and then of course removed the rear. And so it's officially time to start removing the roof. I'm gonna start going through and making little marks in each one of these spot welds. They're gonna be guide marks for my drill bit when I start drilling these out. You're also gonna see we have sealer, seam sealer going all the way across here. We're gonna have to grind that off. We'll have to grind off all of this so we can see the spot welds in the back. The most important thing when doing this is that we don't want to disrupt the shape of the lower panel that the roof will sit on. We can always bend it back if it gets a little bit out of shape, but you don't want to go too crazy and have to create more work for yourself down the road. We're going to be able to tell right away what things we need to pound back into shape when we put the new roof on. Right, not too bad. I have all of these drilled out. There's quite a few on this side all the way through. On the last one, ended up going a little bit too deep, sent it all the way through. Not that big of a deal. This is gonna happen when you're doing this, but we'll make sure we cover that up and it'll be sealed nice and tight. Shouldn't create any issues down the road. But that is it for this side as far as the spot welds go. This side took about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes to get all of these drilled out. Really wasn't too bad. I'm gonna knock out the other side and then I'm gonna go ahead and grind down this side and then we'll start drilling out these ones and the rear ones. Wear your safety glasses. So now we're gonna grind down these edges here so we can access these spot welds here. All right, so now you can see why we do that. There's all our spot welds. Gonna do the same thing with these ones, basically just drill those out. This is a messy job. Make sure that you put up as much prep as possible so you don't get this crap all over the place. But let's go ahead and start drilling these out. So I've drilled out some spots in the front. I want to see how easily this comes off. All right, so I wanted to show you guys where we are at. I have the entire skin removed from the roof panel. The real trick to this is to go really light with the drilling and then start popping off the panel. And if it gets hard to hammer, then you know that you need to drill a little bit deeper. It's really easy to send it all the way through to the other side. So you have to be careful. We officially have the back, the entire back of the skin is off. The entire front of the skin is off. Now I have to focus my efforts along here and I have to remove these E-Torx bolts right here. Those actually come out and off. You'll see a seam sealer across here. I have to cut that so I can remove the roof from here. If anything, the carbon fiber is going to be way stronger than this because this stuff is super, super thin. You could just bend it with your hand if you wanted to. bunch of seam sealer around it. Pull it out. We are going to clean these up and reuse them when we put in our carbon roof. This is crazy. This is crazy. All right, so we have the roof finally off, and you can see where I had to drill out all the spot welds. These will all get filled in. I'm gonna fill in anything that I went through, but really not too bad. Just a little bit tedious, but yeah, so now it's time to clean stuff up. We gotta remove all of this old adhesive, and then we have to shave all of this down, make it nice and flat, test fit the roof, make sure everything is, all the contours are perfect and everything is gonna seat up nicely. And then we are going to shave these little spot weld pieces so it's exposed metal. Then we have to spray it to cover up the metal so it doesn't rust. Then we can go ahead and actually apply the roof. We also have to put the center brace. You can see these little parts right here. These are meant for the center brace that goes across there, that comes with the carbon roof. It's a little white piece. I'll show it to you guys in a minute. We're basically gonna riv nut this and then seam seal it, panel bond it. Yep, there you go. Lays across like that. Yep, attach here. This hooks onto there. This attaches here. You can weld it, or you can just do like riv nut and panel bond. I mean, either way, it's gonna be solid, so I'm not too worried about it. And this, the core purpose of this, you guys, it's not structural. This is actually for integrity of the center of the roof, so it doesn't flap around, so you don't get like weird wind buffeting when you're cruising down the freeway. You also gotta remove some of the shit on here so it's nice and clean. All right, so I went ahead and prepped everything, making sure that we're not getting any of this mess on the inside of the car. Like I said before, we are going to be using some paint, some spray to cover up any of the exposed metal to make sure it doesn't rust. So it's critical to make sure that this car is covered up as much as possible. All right, so we're getting the last little bits of the panel bond off. I went through and leveled everything out. Basically, all we had to do was test fit the carbon roof, and it showed us where the high and low spots were. All right, so we are riveting on the center support brace right now. roof is officially bonded onto the car. 3 million clamps. We're going to be using weights along the edges here. You do have the 2 E-Torx bolts holding it down, but we're going to put some weights overnight, the blanket on top. And this has to seal for at least 8 hours. So by tomorrow morning, it should be good. It's only 3:45, so by then we'll have plenty of time in it. Lots of clamps used, lots of panel bond. But once the panel bond is good and cured, we'll go ahead and throw seam sealer in here, kind of like what it had from factory. It had seam sealer all around the edge of the roof, and we'll do that in the front and back too to make sure that all of the water stays out, but we will continue tomorrow. It is a new day, my friends, and this roof is bonded and it looks incredibly good. So I'm just starting to do a little bit of cleanup before I put some of the seam sealer on here, but I wanted to show you guys where we are at. Everything is bonded. This thing ain't coming off. It ain't coming off if you want it to come off. It would be more difficult to remove this than if you tried to remove it from factory, because we definitely used more panel bond than one would typically use, but that's okay. This thing's obviously never coming off again. Looks really good. Everything fits perfectly, obviously, being that it's OEM, and that's kind of the reason that I went that route. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put our seam sealer in along the edges here, fill all that in nice and smooth. Smooth that seam sealer out, make sure that we have a really nice seal in between here. I'm sure the panel bond is doing a good job, but I'm gonna be extra sure that we have 0 leaks on this thing and it's gonna be completely sealed. Some of the parts that I didn't film, I did actually go through and put seam sealer on the insides as well, just to make sure that we were getting seam sealer in every little portion that we could. And even on this brace up here, I ended up doing a little bit more seam sealer on the inside, make sure that everything was nice and solid. So now it's time to start working on the headliner. So this is the slick top carbon headliner. I got lucky because I bought my entire roof with the entire assembly. So I got all of the wiring, all of the plugs, everything is already wired up for a carbon roof car. Now this headliner is actually in pretty decent condition. There's nothing really wrong with it, but it is a bit sun damaged. It is faded. So I actually color changed the headliner on my 1 Series and I used vinyl spray. That is exactly what I'm going to be doing with this one as well. Basically just exterior fabric spray. You could for sure have this completely redone if you want to, but it's gonna cost you like $1,000 in order to do that. At least that was the quote that I got, to have the entire headliner redone. And I just figured, you know what, being the DIY person that I am, with the results that I had on the 1 Series, I was really happy with that. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this myself. It's gonna turn out really good. The only drawback to having like a vinyl spray is the texture is a little bit rough when you touch it, but again, how often are you touching a headliner, especially one on a carbon fiber roof that you don't even have the functionality to open a sunroof, so you really aren't touching your headliner at all. That is literally the only drawback. Outside of that, it lasts forever. It looks really, really good. It's like a deep, deep black. It's gonna look way better than this. This is almost like gray at this point because it's so sun damaged. And then I even have all of the controls and electronics from the carbon roof panel versus the sunroof panel. You can see I can use this one. Deletes obviously the plug for the sunroof. So this is legit gonna be like a carbon roof car. Like if you hadn't watched this video and you hadn't known that I had done this, you're never gonna be able to tell that this is in fact a carbon swapped E92 M3. So if you are planning on going down this road and doing this swap yourself, it might be worth it to try and find a totaled E92 M3 and get the entire roof assembly. Just to be transparent with you guys, I paid $350 for the entire roof. I paid $1,000 to have the roof, the carbon, completely re-cleared. I mean, it looks brand new. It's perfect now. So $1,350 all in for everything. Obviously, you got time and labor, but being that I'm doing everything myself, the real costs are the materials to do this job and then the actual parts. But going with the entire assembly is just gonna save you a ton of money because you're getting literally literally everything you need in order to do this swap. Unless you want to try and like piece it together, which I think just financially wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. You'll end up spending more in the long run. So with that being said, I'm going to clean up the headliner, start spraying that. This stuff dries really quick too, which is nice. The thing is right now the glass is out. So I want to get that headliner in before the glass goes in, because if you have to get the headliner in through the door, you're likely going to crease it. It's a little bit more difficult. Proper way to do it is with the glass out. So this is interesting. This is the antenna off of the carbon fiber roof car. This is the antenna off of the sunroof version. They are different in sizes. They have different part numbers. The connections are nearly identical. However, I am going to be using the smaller antenna fin that goes with the carbon fiber roof. Basically anything that came with this carbon fiber roof, I am going to be using in this car now. All right, guys, so we are buttoning up the headliner right now. You would never be able to tell that this car was ever a sunroof model car, which is the cool thing about this. If you're gonna do this swap, I highly recommend finding an entire roof assembly, because then you'll have things like the headliner and all of the little stuff that goes along with the carbon roof version. It makes it a lot easier and you're gonna save money in the long run. But when it comes to the actual unit, the dome lights and the SOS unit up front, obviously this one is out of the carbon roof version, so it doesn't have the center controls for the sunroof, and you're gonna be omitting one of your plugs. It's gonna be this one right here, so we're just basically not gonna be plugging that in. I don't think it should throw any codes or give us any issues, being that it's just for a sunroof. If anything, we can just code it out. So the nice part is we're pretty much done. This looks really, really good. Even with the headliner that I had and like reconditioning it, looks fantastic. It's all black, so it makes it kind of easy. But yeah, at this point, I can go ahead and put this in, plug everything in. I can do that now and reinstall. Absolutely insane. Cannot believe that this is my car. It's turned out so good. Full interior is in, slick top headliner, looks brand new. Man, this turned out so freaking good. I have the official slick top shark fin. Everything in the car. I mean, it's just crazy, dude. It's just crazy how good this looks. You would not be able to tell that this car ever had a sunroof in it. And the best part is it's all OEM. So all we have to do now is wait for the glass guy, put in the rear glass, put in the front glass, put in the seals, throw on the rails, and that is a job complete. All right, you guys, so the car is finally finished. The glass is in, everything is put back together. The car looks incredible. This really could not have gone any better, you guys. I'm so happy with the outcome on this roof. It just looks so good. It's OEM. Everything fits perfectly. The roof looks incredible. Having the slick top headliner, the slick top shark fin, the slick top rails, even on the interior, everything is converted over to slick top. Man, it just looks so freaking good. I cannot believe it worked out this well. This was obviously my first time ever doing a job like this, but I'm really happy with the way that everything turned out. As you guys know, I also have entertained putting a carbon fiber roof on the 1M clone, and this process was basically the test process for me to learn how to do this in order to do it on the 1M clone. This went so well that I am for sure going to be doing it on the 1M clone myself. In addition to doing the carbon fiber roof on the 1 Series, I'm also going to be doing the metal quarter panels myself on that car. I'm gonna do both of those at the same time. Makes the most amount of sense. The rear glass has to come out anyways. But really doing projects like this is all about challenging myself, trying something new and seeing if I can accomplish it the best of my abilities, gaining a bit more confidence in that process and being able to apply everything that I learned throughout this process into future jobs. Knowing that I was able to knock this out as well as I did, now I have a bit more confidence and I cannot wait to attack the same job on the 135. So I know a lot of you guys are probably wondering how much something like this actually cost me to do. I'm gonna give you guys a quick price breakdown on everything. Now keep in mind, everyone's prices are gonna be a little bit different based on where you find a roof, how much you find it for, whether you buy it new or used. When it comes to actually installing the roof, you have to figure the labor took me a couple of days. However, now that I have done this and I learned better ways to do certain things throughout the process, I can confidently say that I could knock this job out in 2 days. Really, the only two things that held me back throughout this process were the windshield and rear window removal and installation, and then also the cure time for the panel bond and the seam sealer. Being that those have to take 8 to 12 hours, sometimes even 24 hours to cure properly, depending on the conditions, there's really no way around that, and you're kind of stuck until you can proceed with the rest of the job. Nonetheless, you factor in a couple of days to do the job. It's not necessarily hard, it's just tedious, a lot of little steps that you have to follow throughout the way. However, if you are not familiar with taking these cars apart, it's gonna be much more difficult for you. Let's talk a little bit about the parts and the cost of the parts. So I ended up buying the used roof with the headliner, the entire top end of the car basically, from a carbon fiber E92 M3 roof for $350. That was an absolute bargain find. I have found a couple more online for like $500. Problem is, a lot of these places won't ship it because it's such a huge package. So you have to get lucky, find one in your area, and basically go pick it up. I was fortunate that I actually had a friend of mine, Donald, thank you, for getting the roof for me in New Jersey. He was near the shop that was selling the roof. And then one of my other friends, thank you, Edwin, picked up the roof and brought it back down to North Carolina for me when he was up in New Jersey. So I was $350 in on the entire roof. To have the roof re-cleared by my friend Josh, thank you, Josh, I paid $1,000, turned out perfect. So that's $1,350 total. And lastly, I had to buy a new windshield because mine cracked, and that was $400. So in total, in parts, $1,750. Not too bad. And considering I did all of the labor myself, I obviously did not have to pay for labor. Now, when it comes to materials, there's a lot of different types of materials you can buy, a lot of different types of tools you can buy to do this job. I'd say roughly $500 in materials and tools that I use to make this happen on my car. I'm confident with the way I did it. I know it's not gonna leak. I know the roof is not gonna fly off the car. I can confidently say that this was done very, very well. It is the proper way to do this roof swap. I am gonna have everything that I've used linked down below in the description for you guys. So yeah, in total, you guys, it's about $2,250, $2,300, somewhere in there to do this roof swap on your own. To me, that is worth it. I really wanted the carbon fiber roof. I didn't want to have to sell this spec. I really liked this spec in general, minus the sunroof. So for a few grand and some great content and an awesome learning experience, it was totally worth it to me. You know, when it comes to this channel and these cars, I'm all about building, learning, and growing as a creator, and this has definitely been one of those cases. I do want to thank Hendel for letting me use his incredible shop to make this happen. Could not have happened without him, and he has helped me numerous times, so huge shout out to you, Hendel. I think we'll be doing a few more videos in this garage as well. The lighting in here is fantastic. Everything looks great on video in here. Now we can talk a little bit about the benefits. Why would you put a carbon fiber roof on your car? So looks are obviously subjective. In my opinion, I think that this carbon fiber roof on this car looks a million times better than the sunroof. That's just my opinion. You guys don't obviously have to cut your sunroofs out of your cars. If you like a sunroof, keep a sunroof. But let's talk about the weight. So the weight difference for a carbon fiber roof versus the sunroof model is a 45-pound difference in the center of the car. That might not seem like a lot, but it really is. Not that I'm necessarily counting pounds on this car, but if you're interested in doing this roof because you're a track junkie and you have a sunroof car, well, now you know this is one way to remove about 45 pounds from the vehicle. Another interesting thing about this swap is this sunroof also works on the base model E92. So if you have like a 335 or a 328, you could go ahead and do this exact same swap on those cars as well, which is pretty cool. M models and non-M models, they will all work. But yeah, you guys, I think that about wraps it up. This is a longer video. Thank you for sticking around to the end. If you have, thank you so much. But I appreciate you guys so much. If you feel like supporting the channel, there will be merchandise linked down below. That'll effectively end this one. We will see you in the next one. Peace.